Yeah, just to unpack that a little bit. So when you along that journey of weight loss, it's not going to be linear. So you're not going to just lose a proportion of your weight on a regular basis across the weeks of that diet. Because of course, as soon as you create that deficit, your body is kicking in these sort of thrifty mechanisms, these sort of drivers of response, so that actually you're already starting to slow,
Hmm.
even if you are still in the same energy deficit. Your body is adjusting to that energy deficit. So actually, the actual energy deficit becomes less and less over time. Not just less and less because there's less and less of you,
Yeah.
but also less and less because, of course, you're adjusting downwards in terms of your energy expenditure to try and compensate for that energy deficit.
And
So
is
what you often observe, and actually there's been some really nice modelling, and actually I've got a PhD student that's doing some modelling of this for us, is that you can actually predict a trajectory of weight loss, and you often observe that yes, you've got a theoretical weight plateau that you could say, well, I've got this amount of energy deficit. I'm eating 500 calories a day less, so therefore I'm going to lose X amount of weight.
mm,
The reality is that you don't lose that amount of weight. You plateau at a higher weight
hmm
than what you would expect because of all these adjusting mechanisms that are kicking in.
right. Now that is interesting. Hadn't realized that. Okay. So in your research and with the student who's looking at it at the moment, then are there things that you could do? Could it be just generally thinking here, if people want to lose weight, instead of drastically calorie cutting to a huge deficit, could it be maybe cut a couple of hundred calories each time every week, so it's slowly chipping away at it? Would the body perhaps notice that, and the mechanisms may change then? Or might it be change the type of exercise that you do, or increase the exercise as time goes on? Is there anything, or is that just too simple and it
Hmm.
doesn't work like that?
No, that's an interesting question because you can almost argue it on both sides. So on one side, you could say, well, given that you're going to have this adjustment in response to whatever deficit you create, therefore I'm going to create a bigger deficit to compensate for that. So I can go on a much greater restriction. So like a very low calorie diet, or something like less than 1,000 calories a day. I
Mm,
mean, the 800 calorie a day diet has become popularized because that's the sort of intervention that has been shown to create significant weight loss in a short space of time,
yeah.
and give you sort of remission of some symptoms of diabetes.
Hmm.
So from a clinical point of view, that gives you that really noticeable weight loss, a clinically relevant weight loss. Now, that argument is saying, oh, okay, so that's given me a big enough energy deficit to overcome. So that even with all these adjustments, I'm still going to be in energy deficit. I'm still going to lose weight. So I can still achieve that clinically relevant weight loss, or get to my weight loss goal,
Hmm.
even if I'm starting from a very high weight. But then the counter argument to that is to say, well, if I'm creating a bigger energy deficit, then surely whatever biological response I'm creating is going to be the biggest as well. Because, of course, the bigger the stress, the bigger the response to that stress.
Yeah.
And so once you achieve that weight loss, um, even though it's a significant weight loss, perhaps the drivers of weight regain are
Mm.
greater
Yeah.
because you've amplified all that stress by creating such a great energy deficit in the first place. So yes, it's a much more effective way of getting you to your weight loss goal
Hmm.
compared to a more subtle energy deficit of, say, couple hundred calories a day,
Hmm.
or a little bit more physical activity or exercise.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is that once you get there, you're probably going to amplify the drivers of regain because you've created such an exaggerated shift.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
it does. I'm just thinking, what hope can we give people out there?
Well, no,
Because
I think
I think I read somewhere as well that this kind of biological need for regain or rebalance can also last for quite a few years, can't it? It's not just, you know, a few months.
yeah, no, it is. But you see, this is where you've got to start thinking differently, because what you often observe is that people only look at A to B. So they only look at, I'm obese or overweight, I want to lose weight, I want to go from A to B, whatever my target weight is, or whatever is clinically relevant for me to lose, to get me to get remission of diabetes, or to get into that wedding dress, or whatever the motivation is. You know,
Yeah, whatever the
your
goal is.
driver is
Yeah,
always to go from A to B. But then once you got to B, then you think, well, that's the job done. I've achieved it. I've got to be happy days. But of course, it's not, because you've got to think, well, even without doing anything, I need to appreciate that now I'm at B, I'm different to what I was at A. So I can't go back to what I was doing when I was at A,
yeah,
because I'm in a completely different place.
yeah,
And so in order to maintain that B state, I need to be eating and exercising at a different energy balance,
yeah.
because my energy balance is completely different now.
So it's going to
And
be a
that's
big lifestyle
it
shift
doesn't
for a
happen.
lot of people then, isn't it?
Yeah. So what often happens is, oh, well, they go off the wagon, and
Mm,
they start going back to their old habits, their old dietary, because they think that, all the hard work is done. And then that, coupled by the biological drive to regain weight, is like the perfect storm that's allowing that person to regain that weight. But even just psychologically, people don't think about weight maintenance. They think only about going from A to B.
that's the
And
point.
when you
And that,
look at
yeah.
trials and take the direct study, which is the one that's got a lot of credence, and that's been the sort of main evidence towards, this 800 calorie a day type diet for diabetes remission.
Hmm.
When you look at that study, the reason why it's successful is, A, it's a study, so it's in a controlled environment, but also they threw literally the kitchen sink at these people to get them to maintain that weight for the year following,
Hmm.
which is not what normally happens
Yeah,
in reality.
yeah. It's not
So
real world. Okay.
the job, actually, the impetus should be on maintaining B, not getting from A to B. So it's almost like we have to change our mindset
Okay.
that the diet is just a means to an end. It's maintaining the end that's the important thing.
And the hard bit.
And
Okay.
that's the hard bit, but that's the thing that is the long term
Yes. Yeah.
driver. It's not the A to B is just the short term getting there, getting the means to the end. It's not the long term uh, emphasis, or your emphasis should be on maintain that weight. Obviously, the emphasis ideally would be on not gaining weight in the first place. So you wouldn't have to go from A to B, of course. Prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Um, and and that is even more pronounced because what you observe, and they've done some nice twin studies to look at this, where if you look at twins, and one twin that has attempted to lose weight, and another twin that hasn't, that
Hmm.
twin that's attempted to lose weight and regain that weight ends up at a higher weight than the other twin. So, and
Wow.
the more weight loss attempts you make, the higher your weight. So actually, what you're programming, if you're doing weight cycling,
Hmm.
yo-yo dieting, is you're actually programming a steady increase in weight. So in a way, it's better to not gain weight and try and lose it, or not lose weight and then regain it. It's better
Yeah.
to try and maintain your weight all the time.
Do you think
And that's
maybe an
essentially what
idea?
your body's trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's trying to compensate. I wonder if maybe an idea is if, you know, if your goal is a certain weight to lose some weight, or as much or as you can, whatever, as you want to. And then in terms of maintenance, set maybe some parameters that are something like, you know, to give yourself some space to say, you know, there's a tolerance of quarter of a stone, you know, 2-3 kilos or something like that, to allow, you know, maneuver from, everybody, you know, does have fluctuations in their weight from day to day anyway, but as a sort of mental trigger for a lot of people, to give yourself a bit of a break, but then to say, hang on, no, it's creeping up again, time to readdress that, and, you know, look at the dietary aspect and the activity level, etc. Might that be good?
Yeah, I think it's just having that awareness of the fact that you can't just go back to your original diet and lifestyle, that
Yeah.
you have to change your diet and lifestyle, maintain some aspects of that diet and lifestyle change you did to get from A to B in order to maintain where you are now at that new weight. Now, of course, you can give yourself some leeway with that. You don't have to be so strict in the sense that you were before,
Mhm.
but just that awareness of the fact that it takes some effort or some thought or some at least conscious effort to maintain that weight. Now, that is helped by the fact that a lot of people are motivated because, of course, they see the benefits. Oh, I'm looking great. I'm feeling
Mm.
better. You know, I'm looking better, and that in itself is a motivation for people to maintain it. And that's where you often see people shifting their whole lifestyle, and almost, or some people are even like change jobs. And some people even change marriages, and on all manner of things change when they change weight. Um, so it can be a very empowering
Hmm.
thing to people when they lose weight. But
Yeah.
it's that acknowledgement, the fact that you can't just go back to what you were before, or allow your diet and lifestyle to, um, what's the word, regress
Mm.
to what it was previously.
That's a good point. So it really does need to be a mental shift and a lifestyle shift, doesn't it? It's no short-term process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.